Good morning, Dash.
Hello, Bunny. How are you?
I'm good and happy Republic Day to you.
To you too, sweetie pie. How's it been? It's been a while since we recorded. Let's do a small catch up, shall we?
Yes, it has been a while. We've had some scheduling conflicts. Both of us have been busy with work and
Yes, we have a life
life.
actually.
Life has been happening.
Yes.
And so we're sorry, but we also not that sorry because, I mean, it was out of our control.
Yeah, but what have you been up to? Give me the goss. How's your time been? How's
Oh,
work been going?
in the 2 weeks that we haven't recorded, work's been really
Yeah.
busy. Um, I don't know how many people would be interested or aware, but this is kind of a really big and like a good agricultural season right now because um, certain crops and certain trade has picked up in this time. So sugar mainly because states in India will keep crushing cane till about March. So you're going to have a decent amount of production rolling in, and obviously it's a large export campaign that the country has lined up. Then we're also seeing a lot of new avenues and new countries open up for other exports that usually didn't happen from India, namely like maize, rice. Hopefully they'll open it up for wheat as well. So this it's looking like a good season in terms of agro commodities being exported from India,
Nice.
which is good. So it's
Nice.
really busy at work. And yeah, haven't been doing anything else, been working out.
Party
uh,
वार्टी कर रहे हो आजकल?
uh, I did go out like to a bar for the first
Good
time.
now. It's all about balance because you're working hard. I want you to enjoy your life also.
Yeah, but like enjoyment for the last like 8, 9 months has obviously
At
been
home.
very at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
So last week was the first time I actually went out to a bar. It was a rooftop bar. And we were feeling like, oh, it's rooftop, so it's fine. Like there's space, there's air. And I guess those are the things that you say to yourself to make it better so you feel better about it. But it was a lot of fun, like even though there was a curfew at the end of it and you had a time to wrap up, which by the way I really
It's
like.
so good. I love that. Like,
I don't
I
want
love that.
curfew to ever leave. Like I want to be told that at 11:30 you simply must leave and go
Yeah.
home. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's done. So you don't land up spending or overindulging, and the next day is not ruined.
Exactly. I agree with you. That's so
So
true.
it was good. I enjoy this curtailing of my rights. Curtail them. I don't have any self-control.
Lol. Were there lots of people at said bar, or was it like,
I would
what's
say
it?
that it was lots in terms of not having seen people at a social establishment or like a place outside. It was kind of like, oh
Where
my
did you all
God.
go? Maybe this place will send us free beverages next
No,
time.
I don't think so.
Oh,
We
ठीक
went,
है.
yeah. So, but it wasn't like packed. It wasn't crowded, like, which felt a little bit sad because you were out on a Friday night and you were like, oh, there's not so many people, which is good. But kind of in a way, you maybe miss the fervor of a.
Yes, yes, I'm with you.
Anyway, it was just nice for the first time in so long to go out to a bar and to be like, wow, may I have a beverage?
And so work's been busy. You went to a bar. You and I didn't meet for 2 weeks, which is also sad.
That was sad.
Um, that was sad. But I saw you last night and hugged you, so I felt better. Um,
And how was your last 2 weeks?
Again, no, busy only like you. I was also working,
Mm.
not partying, but I partied one time when we wrapped the shoot. So, just to commemorate this for myself and my listeners, I can't talk about the project, but I did something mad cool for the first time ever. I
Hmm.
dipped my toe into a new form of performance, um,
And we
outside of
eagerly await when we
the
all get to see
release
it.
of
Yeah.
this on OTT platform,
But
which
yeah,
rhymes
that's
with Batflix.
wow. Okay, that was so secretive. But that's so exciting. And
Yeah. I
so
didn't flirt
truly
with any boys also there. Just want to say you.
that's not
Uh,
exciting.
I know I was working so hard. It felt like I was giving my board exams again. So I was just like studying and then waking up and going and giving the paper. Didn't have time to like ask cute boy for pen or pencil also.
Oh my God, that was such a bad joke. So bad.
I loved it.
And so thinly veiled when you like lean into the camera and wink.
No.
But
Yeah,
um,
but Mazaya,
but I'm glad
hap-
that Jan has started off in this like really busy, um,
after
intense.
a whole year of nothing,
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. It's nice to have that hustle and bustle and wake up in the morning knowing that you have a full schedule and you have a full day and it's going to be like, I mean, I've missed that. I have
Yeah,
thoroughly
yeah,
missed
yeah.
it. So I'm sure I'll be exhausted come March, but for this first couple of weeks of the year, it always feels really good to
Yeah,
start it out in a really, I think, in an intense way.
Hagrid.
Yeah.
All right then. I just wanted to catch up also a little bit. हर बार ऐसे start करके topic आज का ये है हम प्रवचन देंगे. I thought it's nice. Let's just chit chat first.
Of course. And I've also realized that our titles have the theme in it. So
Exactly.
we don't
So,
really have to. But today it does feel a little bit special because we are recording on, Republic Day. And we thought that the topic obviously the topic was given to us. As you know, we
by
usually
the
struggle.
Republic.
Yeah, we usually struggle. But then when we realized that Tuesday was a day we could both record, we looked at the calendar, we were like, hold on, this is like the nation is giving us the topic.
The nation wants to be on Agla Station Adulthood.
Exactly. And the more we thought about it, the more we realized that this is actually super important, super pertinent. If you're a young adult in I think if you're above the age of 18, basically, in terms of you count as a vote, you count as a person, you count as a
A
active member,
voice.
a voice, exactly. So
भारत माता की जय.
yeah, I mean, of course, Bharat Mata ki jai, great, proud Indians.
I'd just
Especially
like to say this
right now.
episode will be serious, peppered with comedy in the middle.
Hmm.
Ritasha is going through a comic phase.
No, but I think even talking about our country is exactly like that. It's serious, but it's peppered with a lot of like, can you believe this is actually happening in our country?
You
Um,
can't make this up.
you can't. You really can't. But it's that's not to say that this episode is going to be some sort of like long diatribe against the country and against this and against that. It's
Oh
just
no, I love India.
yeah, this is a conversation I think that's really important in general because I think, and I think sometimes Tash agrees with me, is that you the as you grow up, one of the responsibilities you have as an adult is also to be a conscious like citizen via
Citizen of society.
via the community around you. And
Yeah,
obviously if you are engaged with the community around you, that has a ripple effect, and just by association you are involved with the way that society around you is going to progress, and uh, by that same extension your country. So I know it's like
yeah,
a long shot, but I think it starts there, and this age is that age that you should kind of be a little bit more aware. But yeah, we'll talk about that. Let's get into that, then you can make your jokes along the way.
ready to joke. I love to
Let's
joke.
dive right in. um did you I'll ask you a basic question, like,
Oh shit, I'm scared already.
you just relax. So for like in my building, they always hoist the flag twice a year,
Correct.
right? On
Independence
Republic
and
Day and
Republic.
Independence Day. So today
Yeah,
they
yeah.
hoisted the flag, and my dad woke up in the morning. He was like, "Oh, we should go down and we should,
And then you got jalebi and fafda and all also. Is that
correct."
today?
We get
Best
that on
day.
Independence Day, but today also some prasad or something came.
Snakes have come. Noise.
Yeah, and it wasn't about that, but I was just like, you know what, fine. It doesn't take anything out of my time, and sure, if it's about this little act that everyone likes to do in the building, and my building is full of old people, so they're like very like, let's
Into
go.
it.
Yeah.
Sweet, sweet.
But yeah, so I started my day with going down to watch this flag hoisting, singing the national anthem and all of that. And so did you feel anything when you woke up today? Like, did you feel like, oh, you know what the day is? Does it sometimes weigh on you in any way, or does it cross your mind? Like these days, like say a Republic Day, Independence Day, Gandhi Jayanti, these kind of big national days.
So yesterday, though, I've forgotten completely that tomorrow is Republic Day. Till I drove past Mantralaya and it was lit, and then everything was lit. There was Nakabandi every day. I was like, wait a minute, what's going? Oh, kal 26 January hai.
We were in the car together going to a friend's house, and we have had this realization together like, why are there so many cops? And then you're like, uh-oh, batti.
It's 26 January, exactly. So, no, I don't often think about it's okay. No, how do I package this in a nice way, articulate it? But basically, no, initially it was about, oh, okay, ठीक है, you get a day off, or you go to school, it's a half day, that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
joy.
yeah, for
So all
sure.
that joy was there. Now it's more like, oh, it's a public holiday. My parents will be home, lovely. I can hang out with them.
Yeah.
But what has happened and has changed with me personally, and I would say this is recently, honestly, about the last year or so, around Independence Day, or not even around it, but just the topic surrounding it, I've met more people whose families have personally had partition stories.
Mm.
So to hear about those things, it's whenever I guess the idea of Independence Day rolls around, I do somewhere like there is more empathy to what that might have been like. Just the human angle of it, the human stories, the
The
relationships.
history.
Absolutely, but the human side of the history.
Mm.
ये वो atrocities, ये वो ठीक है हुआ है, but I'm always stirred by
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
people must have experienced, felt, how it must have affected families, lovers, parents, children, that kind of stuff. I like to think about. Yeah,
No,
and I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think our country's still gotten over it, and I think we discussed this.
We've discussed it. We said that we have a colonial hangover,
Oh,
and
that is so there only, but
but
also
we
the
have
trauma
trauma.
of partition. It hasn't.
We said that. We've discussed it. And I thought it was a very wise thing that came from this show. One of the
No, but
few.
like, I
Um,
think like for that, if I look at it now from like a how the authorities of a country should care for its people, I to feel there should be some program also to help people cope with the trauma of partition if they are still not
they didn't.
just
We're carrying that with us internally, whether we like
different
it or
ways.
not.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's affected so much of our policy. It's affected the way that people engage with each other. And it's affected so much of our perception of communities, right? Like what you think of a community, what that community thinks of you. It's this whole, it all came from there. It really did stem from there. And yeah, we've discussed it and it's true. And we've not been able to get our people to a place where we're all okay with what happened. Because obviously, first of all, no one is okay with how it happened because we're still at quote unquote war with our neighbors, right? Like it's not some sort of hunky dory situation.
Oh yeah, I heard recently you can't send a courier next door.
Or yeah, I mean, I bet we're always at a state now. I think for the last 2 years we've been at a state of heightened security and travel is restricted and everything.
That's nuts when you actually think about it, no? Because there's a large mass of land, and then suddenly people are like, nah, we're gonna rip this apart. That's yours, that's ours. It's nuts, and I don't think about it often enough because we are so removed from it.
But the minute you start thinking about it, you spiral. And then the next thing you realize, you're sitting there, like, an hour and a half into some sort of research or some article or some video. And you're just like, I cannot believe that this is the history that's like my history, my country's history, my society's collective history is this. Like, it was so bloodied and it was so traumatizing and
And
done.
what it's done, yeah,
Yeah.
like say, correct.
No,
Go
and
ahead.
what it's inflicted on us now, like that you are still dealing with this, sorry, but shit, day in and day out. It's affecting the narrative, it's affecting policies, it's affecting the people that come to power or lose power, whatever it is. It's just this. Anyway.
Yeah, and then you go back, and I at least do think sometimes about like thousands of years ago, maybe.
Hmm.
What was it like when we didn't have this trauma, when our problems were not like this, when we were not pointing fingers at neighbors and other people? What was that? I don't know. I really do believe, and this is again me being a spiritual being. I
Hmm.
feel like India is a land of spirituality. The whole of Asia probably is like this Eastern philosophy,
Yeah, yeah,
Eastern
yeah.
magic. It exists I feel in the very land and soul of the country. But वो तो मतलब it's fully lost. And I don't know what it is. I have no solutions. I just have the feeling which is I want to share. It makes me sad. I don't know I don't know where we're headed.
I mean, it's definitely a question I think you land up asking yourself, because sometimes, you read something, or you suddenly become aware of something, and you're like, is this now what we have to deal with? Is this a new reality? Is this a new thing? Or what? And this is not to make, I'm not going to get into that, but what you're saying is right. It's like somewhere along the way we've lost, uh actually, no, I don't think we've lost like our spiritual connection, and I don't think we've lost what made. There are definitely people and practices that keep us deeply connected with the spirituality. I think that's very inherently Indian, or what we think is kind of associated with
I want to
India.
say now I might be getting into murky territory here,
That's okay.
but that spirituality has come, I think, second or third now, and organized religion
That's where I was
has
going with it. Yeah.
taken the frontest of front seats, and that's a problem.
Because we've confused it, we've switched the two. We've decided to take, even if some of the religions had spirituality associated with them, we've decided to take the practices, and perhaps the worst practices of all the religions, and put them at the forefront, and decided that the the natural, more organic parts of them are not so important and not so worth revisiting with, when in fact that's the parts of your faith that you should be connecting with. um, but I think we're talking in, like, as per usual, on the surface.
Oh no, sorry, it's just because I'm scared. I'll just tell our
Yeah.
listeners as it is. I can't name a religion. I can't name anyone in power. I can't name anything. I can't name anyone. I can't name. So if you all can understand the feelings, because recently I've come out of this shoot also, and
Mm.
the rules of censorship, the fear people have, you say one wrong thing and it's a problem.
No, it definitely is. I mean, I'm not a like, I'm saying you're at a different level because your job is very rooted with your personal image. But I'm saying, even as a private citizen who has, say, a public platform, like even if you have an open Twitter or an open Instagram, you have to
Yeah,
be so careful about the way that you
absolutely.
say things. But
Absolutely.
I do firmly believe one thing, which is, if you if you have a belief, or you have an opinion that's founded in some sort of fact, or some sort of research, or some sort of, like, has a basis and is rooted in reality, you should still give your opinion. You should still have it. Don't be, and this is so much easier said than done, because obviously there are very clear examples of people who have exercised their right of free speech and have been, you know, persecuted for that. But if we all stop and we start towing this line of, like, oh, we can't, we're just, instead of moving forward, we're just going to keep moving back. So um, in the most respectful way, in the most factual way, and in the most, like, responsible way, you shouldn't have to censor yourself at all.
But the reality is that you still
Yeah.
have to. So let's take a break at this point and we'll come back to the conversation.
All right.
Welcome back. What
um
was that snap?
that was a really bad snap. I'm so sorry. You clap.
Welcome back to Agla Station Adulthood.
Republic Day edition.
Yeah, क्या बोलती Republic?
um okay,
So,
so we've discussed all this stuff that kind of leaves us feeling a little bit burdened, but I do want to get into why we wanted to talk about this today, is because at this age that you and I are at, this 28, 29, we are now tax paying citizens of this country. We we try our very best to be responsible about our surroundings. So even if it's something as basic as like not littering, not breaking a traffic light, not following the rules and norms that are around you, you're trying every day. You're trying to be better than the person that you criticize, right? That's a fair assumption I think we can make. um and for the
And if
most,
you're not, please get out.
yeah, like this basic stuff, we've said it many times. If you don't follow basic traffic rules, don't listen.
Get out of
Go.
here.
um but having said that, you do that, but how do you remain a engaged citizen? Like, is that something that you think is also a responsibility of a young adult, given that we have thousand other responsibilities these days? You can't just look away from the question.
This is the time Rita should start looking elsewhere because she cannot bear the burden of information. So with time and age, I'm realizing I am a person who can engage one on one with a person.
Hmm.
Like if somebody wants to share with me ki this is happening and I feel this way about it, and I can ask questions. Oh, so then who said this? Who said that? So then the government is doing this. Acha, journalists are saying that. Oh, the people are saying this. That way, I'm happy to engage, happy to talk to one, two friends.
Right.
Tell me to go on Twitter and read, tell me to open paper and read, tell me to watch news channel and no, 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 no. It ruins my mental peace, which is already fragile and bare minimum. So मैं
um
क्यों, it's a Hindi saying, आ बैल मुझे मार, मत मारो मुझे. When I really feel like, okay, now I'm getting too out of touch, I'll ask Ayushik what's happening.
she sends me like a message like, so Bunny, give me
How
more
do
update
we
on
feel?
this now.
How do we feel
How
about
do
this?
we feel?
तो मैं
um
अपने बाप से तो नहीं पूछ सकती हूँ अलग ही रिस्पॉन्स आएगा.
uh it's
And that trauma is also still there from those days of like the family politics trauma. I'm still now afraid. It's like trauma in my house to again like go down that route.
but we've
That's
discussed
another
this,
reason
I
I've
think. Last season we discussed it when we did our episode on the CA NRC
yeah,
issue,
yeah, it's
and
been a year.
Andre had joined us for that, which I thought was a really good episode. You should, if you're listening, replug.
I
But
need to replug it.
we discussed it back then, which was how a lot of people shy away from talking about politics or getting involved with politics because it causes a rift, or it causes stress at home, or it causes stress in your social group or friends group or at work. And these are kind of some parts of your life, like you said, that you would like to maintain peace because you just cannot mentally or physically handle any more
Cope.
stress.
Yeah. How much stress can a person deal with?
And if you live in close quarters with your family and you don't have a choice about that, it's very difficult for you to start and engage in a constant everyday debate. Like, you might say that that's like, so what, you can disagree, of course you can disagree, but do you want it to be an everyday thing? I'm sorry, but there are families that we know of where people don't agree on a lot of things, and it causes a lot of stress and
Yeah.
pressure on the person.
Yeah.
So I think that it connects to what we're talking about, because it is hard to remain socially and politically aware constantly, given the fact that I think we're at odds with the media. And I don't mean to say this like, oh, one media is biased, and that's fact, but I'm saying it more out of like, the sources of information that come to us are so incredibly aggressive and violent and almost like,
Potentially not even authentic
oh
or
yeah, like there's that whole other layer
100%
of,
biased.
and then you have to literally scrap your way through the information, trying to understand whether this is only right wing, whether this is too left wing, what is the center here, what's actually, like you said, what's the government saying, what are journalists saying, what are the people saying. Like, you have to now sort through three different voices. Then in that three, there are subsects of
Oh yeah.
right, left, center. Again, where is it a national source, is it an international commentary? Like, it's exhausting. And as somebody who tries to keep up also, you're right. I am exhausted on a daily basis. I am exhausted at the
I'm yawning just thinking about all this. Sorry.
but just imagine, like, if you want to, like, even if you want to remain engaged and you want to remain aware and responsible, it's not
And somebody has
easy.
said that, oh, if you are privileged, it's easy for you to. ठीक है. I would like to acknowledge that also in this moment. Privilege acknowledge kiya, cannot be 100% invested in all of these, just in terms of knowing. But then it's like, acha, privilege ke sath, how do you step in and help? I'm not saying you can sit and change society or change the country by just reading or just being aware or just talking to five woke friends about it and tweeting about it. Sorry.
100% agree with you.
Fuck
100%.
that, fuck that 10 times over. Fuck that. Sorry. Go actually like make a change in your everyday life with the people who you can help out in whatever way on a personal level or at a company level. If you have a company which has some kind of outreach programs, employees you can help on that level, start conversations with office like colleagues, like whatever. I really just am so angry with everybody who's just taking to the internet to be angry, and that's it.
And I also think it's like, um, again, I think this is something that we've said before, but it is worth revisiting, is that your social media community and your presence is very curated. You
Oh
will
yeah.
only go with the people that you agree with, and then the people that follow you usually are people that they agree with, and it's just like everyone is just patting each other on the back. It's a big circle.
Yeah.
It's a massage
Yeah.
circle. So
Yeah.
when you have, and this may sound like I'm contradicting myself when I just said that you're allowed to have your opinion and voice it. That's, and I stand by that. But what you just said is just that you're speaking into the same void of the same 5, 10 people. You're not
It's a void,
actually
yeah.
changing anything. You're in fact just regurgitating the same information. You're like, well, I read this article, I read this, and it's the same thing. Nothing. No one's view has been expanded. No one's knowledge has actually been like refined. It hasn't been added to. It hasn't been updated. It's just the same thing. But and so I think the right way, no, but whatever, one way of approaching is, like you said, is have the conversation in the larger circles around you. Like at office, it's a difficult conversation to bring up politics, but that's where you have certain amounts of change. Or like even in your communities where like small issues, maybe it's not even about the policy, but it's about, like, say today, an ideology of sexism and patriarchy. That's also, by the way, a very political thing, and it's something that you can actually tackle in your home, you can tackle in your friends group, you can tackle at work, where these ideas, these outdated ideas that we have of, say, religion or the patriarchy, or like what women are expected or can or cannot do, those are the things that you can actually discuss and change someone's mind about. And
Yeah.
that's what we should be focusing on, because these things that we see as secondary issues to discuss are very, very, very important.
Absolutely. And I think also the whole attitude of like, oh, I want to fight and prove my point. I don't think it's ever going to work, because as soon as somebody who has a different opinion from you hears you coming at them with this aggression, they've tuned out. They
100%.
are not listening to you.
And it's and you can write as eloquently as you want, and you can have an educated opinion, which is good, because that is, of course, the future of India. It is educated people making um, decisions and having opinions based on their information and based on some sort of factual understanding of a situation. I fully believe that that is the future of the country. So, like, don't stop in that respect. But like you just said, like, if you're going to come at someone with aggression, if you're going to come at them with
Oh, hey, you're wrong, I'm right, listen to me.
yeah,
Oh, hey, you're stupid, how dare you not know?
or
Are
you
you
don't know
okay?
this, or you're in,
No.
and having singular opinions doesn't make you representative of an entire group. um you
Because
know
also now it's important to acknowledge that experiences are different. So in
exactly.
a country of 1.3 billion or 1.4 billion people, each person's lived experience is different. And there's anyway a word also for, was it like Sonder rhyme? I'm just like making shit up now. There's a really nice word.
Hmm.
Uh, which describes that every person's um, living a very complicated, yeah, Sonder, the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own. So now let's extend this to the experience of the country, to the experience of politics, to the experience of governance, to the experience of privilege, opportunity, education, gender, religion. Extend this to all of these things because we are such a diverse country. And there's so much of this sonder going on in 1.4 billion people ki you can't ever, it is never going to be one size fits all for us. It's going to
At
be,
all, at all. And I think these are the drawbacks of concepts like democracy, because at the end of the day we have prescribed to this, which is the best form of governance that we have world over. So at no point am I retracting from that at all. But then this is the stuff that comes with democracy, is that sometimes you're not going to agree with everyone, that you're not going to have your opinion be on the front stage, because that's just the way it goes. And this Sonder thing that you're talking about is the reason why you have these decisions being made, because you don't know what someone else's everyday experience and lived reality is. You just know yours. And we are so quick to assume that just because ours comes from a place of privilege, or we have had the backing of even like a basic privilege like education, because you have education on your side, we just automatically assume that you know what's best, you know what's right, and what you've read is the gospel.
yeah.
And I think that's sometimes what stops us from being as unified as we should be. To put it in a very basic way, is just,
Because within the same city, within the same area, for example, there is so much othering. And it's purely because of the amount of disparity that exists
yeah,
across the spectrum.
of
So
course.
next to a fancy building, we have shanties, and these people are pointing at each other. We hate you because you're poor, you hate us because we're rich. Putting it down to the basicest of it.
Absolutely. You're talking about financial differences. Then you get into maybe religious differences. You get into communal differences. You within a
And
religion, you get into sect wise differences.
layer on layer, yeah.
It is a trifle of pain. Even India, even the country has a trifle of pain. I mean, we've discussed it as a
75 years. Yeah, must
dating
be enough.
history, but we also have it. Each year has been a layer of we didn't get it right. We didn't get it right. We did,
Yeah.
and it's been 70 years of this. But um, to kind of anchor us back to the reason we wanted to talk about it, though, is that even though you said that media comes at us very, it's a lot to process, the stress, the trauma it sometimes bring, not to use that word lightly, but sometimes the news is traumatic. um, and you start, either you become desensitized to it, where you're like, this just doesn't phase me anymore, it doesn't bother me, this is just every day, like when you and it's horrible, but it's usually like violence against women that everyone becomes desensitized towards. Or then you just become you've accepted it, you're like, yeah, well, this is how it's going to be, like with this state, this is how it's going to be, with this government, this is how it's going to be, with this party, it's going to be like this. But what happens in all of that is you slowly and sometimes even unconsciously just start removing yourself from politics and from policy, where you're kind of like, it's happening, it doesn't matter. It's happening, it doesn't matter. But what I kind of wanted to remind or kind of bring to everyone's notice is that the smallest of decisions, whether they're taken at a municipal, state, or central level, at some point are going to have a trickle down effect on your life, and your life or your livelihood or your community or the locality in which you live. And I'm not saying that you will be able to change it overnight by being aware of it, but understanding why certain things are happening is kind of important, and dare I say, your responsibility as an adult.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot to say. I know, I understand that that's a lot to put on people
It's
because,
part of, yeah, I mean, ठीक
dude,
है.
I'm saying I include myself in this telling off thing. Like I'm telling myself off as well, that you have a responsibility to just to engage with the news that you don't like as well. And decisions that happen around you, just because you don't agree with them or you don't like them, doesn't mean that you don't understand why they're happening, because then you've just rejected something prima facie, you know.
Are you speaking Latin now?
No, but I mean, do you at least understand my point? That's kind of what I'm
Of
trying
course,
to get at.
I understand it. Um, but see, my only thing is कि constantly हम काम करें, पैसे कमाए, like ये या ये करे. Like for the
Correct.
normal person, the hustle is so big. For example, in a city like Bombay to survive, like
100%. Of
where do
course,
you
we have said
have
this
the
thousand
brain
times.
space? Yeah,
You have the privilege to shout on Twitter. You have the
yeah,
time and the bandwidth to have these conversations and send the forwards and read this article and read that.
yeah, yeah.
Everyone around you has so many more responsibilities
So you
because,
find one friend who you think is like, ठीक है इसने पढ़ा होगा, and you just ask them like how I ask Ayush.
but after that, kya? Correct?
I'd like to start a petition. So no, okay. If honestly, though, speaking of petitions, I don't know what to do now. This Justice Pushpa
Hmm.
has decided that skin to skin groping is the only thing that counts, and I'm like, excuse
No,
me.
the see, my God, when the minute you try to say the whole sentence, it sounds like you are
Trigger
on the
warning.
subway.
We are talking about
Oh no, I wasn't even going to
sexual
say trigger
assault.
warning, though I guess you should. I
I just did,
completely
yeah,
100% disagree with her, but their thing was
yeah.
that skin on skin counts as sexual assault. If
Only
there's
skin
no
on
skin on
skin.
skin, it counts as molesting.
Molestation,
Yeah, and so the
which is
charges of
also
that is
sexual
different.
assault.
100%, 100,000 trillion%. It's
It
all
starts with the
sexual.
eyes. Ogling is sexual assault. मैं इनको कैसे समझाऊं? So now when something like this happens,
Your blood
फिर
boils because you're
what
just
do you
like,
do?
no, and literally you're sitting at your desk reading this, and my hand has turned into a claw. Like it has just turned into a fist of anger. And you're like, I want to break something. I want to break
Yeah,
someone's effing face, because
yeah.
how is this something that we are still discussing? And the reasoning is, and it's so sad, but I was watching this op-ed guy, this person who's pretty reputed journalist, who was going through this judgment and verdict, and he was saying because the amount of cases that people will file under sexual assault will not be able to be processed by a court in a timely fashion,
But
because
that anyway, nothing is being processed in a timely fashion.
I was reading this and being like, what it took you like 10 years to get one rape case out of the way, like that's anyway it takes you this long, now you're complaining about that as well. But then you go into the thing that it's like, oh, the judiciary isn't adequately staffed, you don't have enough concerted teams for violence against women and children or minorities. Again, special courts, special appeal processes are set up, and they say that in the paper every time some big rape happens. I can't believe I've just said every time a big rape happens, but that's a fucking reality. And then it just peters out, and that it doesn't ever follow through, and that appeal process didn't get sanctified, and it isn't very easy, and now you're stuck again. And this is why this is happening. And you have people, judges apparently, who have the mentality that this doesn't count. Now, what do you do? What do you do? Your sister works with an organization that is trying to educate people and companies about POXO and about how sexual abuse starts at home, and how it's our responsibility to catch it at this time, catch predators at that very basic level, to apprehend them right then, to teach children about safety and what is sexual violence and what is okay and what is not okay. But is anyone actually talking about that now? No, we're just sharing the same one article from that Instagram account again and again and again and again. And I don't know whether to be mad or whether to be like, I guess people are so unable to think of what to do next that the only thing they can think of doing is sharing this one post.
I'm also like, what? So I'm honestly thinking, do we start a petition? I don't know how it works legally. Can you start a petition, get a lot of people to sign it? Because now the High Court has said this, so Who do you even contest it against?
I think
Or
you can file a petition against a high court ruling. You should tell Natasha actually, her as in for Sakshi to start it, and then for us to all, in terms of
sign
like,
it.
yeah, to distribute it and get people to sign on. That would be something that we could definitely do to help.
Definitely. This is something we can sign for sure. I'm gonna ask after we wrap
Right,
up
we have just
today.
gone, but this is the thing, right? You don't know and you get stuck. You see things that are happening around you and you are riled up and you don't know what to do, so immediately you decide none of this is worth it, it's not worth my stress, so I'm just going to remove myself from it. And I think all I want to say from this episode is kind of like, it's hard, it's exhausting, but you live here. This is your house. This is your home. And just how much you would care about what goes on inside the four walls of your home, you have to care about what's going on inside your country. You just have to. I like, if you're so privileged that you don't care about that nothing of what happens bothers you, then you're lucky. You're very, very
Yeah.
lucky.
Then just keep donating money to good causes and then
Yeah. I mean, if out of
do
guilt,
that much at least.
do that much. But I think there's very few people who can say that nothing of what happens is going to affect them at some point. It's just that you choose not to know how it's affecting you, by the way. Every single every single decision, law, community guideline, it is going to affect your life. And if it doesn't affect you directly, it affects your neighbor. And he's your neighbor. You should care. But yeah,
Have you seen my neighbors?
very noisy.
Very noisy. Anyway.
But to put it politely, um, having said that, maybe we can. I don't know. I thought that maybe we could have wrapped on a more positive.
No, sorry, this topic is only too intense. And like positive is what in this? That the road is long, but we are
Yeah,
all together.
yeah. But I mean, the positive thing to say is that if you want to count this country as in just like modern India, we've only had like 70 something years at this.
Yeah, it's too fresh. There's a long way
Kevin,
to
how have
go.
you just yawned like this in the middle?
I'm
Um,
still recovering from my shoot. Sorry, I'm tired.
no, but we have, if at any point I think you get dejected or you feel like this is not worth caring about, it's just nothing's ever going to change, nothing's going to get it right. I mean, look, we're only 70 years in, and 70 years is one person's
Yeah,
lifetime, not even. It's
not
not even
even
one
so.
person's lifetime. So if your
It's
country
going
is
to get
just as old
better.
as, yeah, exactly.
We're
And
going to have an amazing female prime minister. We're going to have an amazing representation of all genders in the Rajya Sabha.
Lok
It's
Sabha
going to
also.
happen. Lok Sabha also. I'm going to manifest these things. If nothing, I'm going to start manifesting.
I think for me, like the basic one starts at treating everyone as an equal. And for me, specifically, that starts with violence and equality when it comes to women's rights. And
And other genders also. Like,
yes, of
but
course,
yes,
I would, sorry, the
women
better way to say
especially.
that is all genders, all orientations included. Uh, that's kind of something that matters to me the most and like that resonates with me very personally, obviously. Um, I think it does with most women and people on the spectrum.
Yeah.
It's these
Agreed.
boys. Anyway, um, so yeah, uh, there's no way getting around it. You need to be more aware of what's happening around you. I wish there was an easier answer, but there isn't. We've said it before. I think we're going to keep saying it. At least I'll keep saying it. You have a responsibility to be a good citizen. You have a responsibility to be a good community member, and you have a responsibility to be a good person. And that starts with you. It starts with your family. It starts with your work, your friends group. make those small changes to be more respectful to each other and towards different
Just be
communities.
kinder. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't, like she said, you don't know what someone else's everyday experience is. So, move with the assumption that their life is as dramatically hard as yours. On that note, happy Republic Day.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for listening and for the privilege of your time.
And, it's a
You
nice
know what to
country.
do. Yeah, it is. I love it.
It's full of good
Love it.
people. It is. It really is. It's full of
It's all
hilarious
it's a lot of
and
heart. Yeah.
diverse, passionate, happy people. Um, when you walk out on the street, you don't see the psychoticness that is portrayed every single day. So find that joy and humanity even around you. It's not all bad.
Yeah.
All right, dears, you can find this podcast and other such fantastic content on ivmpodcast.com or at ivmpodcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you would like to find me personally, you can find me on Twitter at just Ayushi or on Instagram at AyushiA9.
And you will find me only on Instagram at RYTASH.
Ciao.
Ciao.